Welcome back, everybody. I'm Jay. He's Maddie. This is Yankee and the Brit Sports Talk. And we are literally 3 hours away from the legal tampering period in the NFL, and shit's already popping off. Maddie, you and I were just talking before we hit record here that Mitch Trubisky already knows where he's going, and we ain't even in the legal tampering period.
Yeah. Good move, though. Good move. I think everybody knew that Trubisky was on the move. I think it's a really good fit. I think Trubisky's not as bad as people like to think he is. I think what happened to Trubisky is expectation overtook reality, and the moving up for Trubisky made the expectation rocket through the roof. And he's not that good, but he's good. He's definitely top 32 quarterbacks in the NFL.
Yeah, and it was a weird spot. They traded up to get him because they were worried. And this is a guy that only had 4 wins in college because he only played 1 year. So it was very strange. You know my feeling on Matt Nagy. I think he kind of ruined him. So I think going to Pittsburgh will be good for him. And I also think for the Steelers, it makes it so they're not forced to pick a quarterback unless they're sold on him in the draft.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it kind of, it just gives them a bit of solidity at quarterback. I think he's a good fit there. I think he is very Big Ben in the way he kind of looks and his stature and things like that. And he can run, which will be good for the Steelers. Their kind of ground and pound kind of style that they picked up last year. And he doesn't have to, in that offense, he doesn't have to throw bombs too much either, which I think will be good for Trubisky.
Yeah, and he's sneaky athletic. People don't give him the credit for how athletic he is.
Mm-hmm.
But since I'm on here and I got to bring it up, I think, and I'm going to get crushed for this, great news for the Minnesota Vikings. They come to an extension with Kirk Cousins, knock $14 million off the cap, and give him $35 a year, which I think is right around where he should be getting paid. And if you look at where quarterbacks are getting paid this year, right now, as of this second today, he is the 6th highest paid. But we all know 5 guys are going to get paid before the season starts in Lamar and Kyler Murray. You know what I mean? There's guys who are about to get paid. He'll be about 11. I'm okay with that. And you lock him up for 2 years. You don't need to rush to get a quarterback. And I mean, I don't know what people think, but there's going to be other quarterbacks next year's draft. Also, Tyler Huntley will be an unrestricted free agent instead of an exclusive rights, or they'll keep him and get rid of Lamar, which I doubt. But we see more and more movement with the quarterback. It gives this coaching regime a year or two to look at Kellen Mond and think, well, is he our guy? I love the move. I think he's perfect for the offense they're going to run because they're going to build it around the talent instead of, hey, you do this and it doesn't work. I'm excited as a Vikings fan. I think it lands right where he should be.
Yeah, and I think with Kirk Cousins as well, he's made his money already. And he's making a shit ton of money, don't get me wrong, like $35 million a year, but he's made his money already, so he doesn't have to push for that massive amount of money. He doesn't have to pay, he doesn't have to push for that. He can just kind of say, well, for us to win, if I'm earning about $35 million, then we could still win. And I think they definitely can. And as you say, with 5 quarterbacks probably going to come in and get paid more than him, he's kind of set the league average. That's kind of set just above average in terms of the league paid by the end of. And that's where Kirk Cousins is. Kirk Cousins is top 10, between 10 and 15 kind of quarterback kind of guy. And what you get with Kirk is solid. What you get with Kirk is knows the team. What you get with Kirk is no drop off from this season in terms of quarterback play. There's not many quarterbacks that'll go in and outplay Kirk Cousins just outright. He's not the kind of quarterback who's bad enough to roll over and die.
No, and the last time the kid or he's not even a kid anymore, but the last time the guy had a coach that believed in him, it was Mike fucking Shanahan on his rookie deal, right? So it'll be nice to have a coach who believes in him, that fits the scheme around him. I'm just excited that it frees up to where it puts them pretty much even with the cap. I know they were a few $100,000 or $1 million still over. That's easy. I know people are freaking out. I don't want to make this a whole Viking show, but if you convert Daniil Hunter's, like their contract set up, into the bonus and spread it out over the void years, it knocks another 13 off. You can restructure Harrison Smith. You can restructure Adam Thielen, and or you could restructure Eric Kendricks, giving you almost 50 million in cap space if you need it. I'm not saying they should do all that. I'm just saying they got room to move now, and they got their quarterback for 2 years. And Kirk Cousins' agent did him really well. He got guaranteed money with a no trade clause, which I'm okay with too, because we have just learned very recently that all a no trade clause means is not that I can't be traded. I'm just choosing where I go.
Mm-hmm. And I think where it kind of lands is look at the QB market now. So Russell's gone, Rodgers is gone. Who's better than Kirk Cousins that's on the market? And then I think the Vikings have got not lucky, because I imagine a lot of like very intelligent thought went into the way that they approached Kirk Cousins about his contract and things like that. But Kirk could have held their feet to the fire a little bit, saying, well, if you want to go with Jimmy G, then that's all good. If you want to go with Carson Wentz over me, then that's fine. I'll just go get paid somewhere else again. And I think 35 million is a fair assessment of the situation. I think it's a fair assessment of his position in terms of quarterbacks in the league. And I think the only stuff that people don't like about Kirk Cousins is the fact that he doesn't have the highest ceiling in the world. And it's like, well, yeah, but his floor's top 15.
Well, I'm not trying to compare these two guys, but you remember how everybody praises Brady for taking pretty much 25 million a year every year to build a team, right? Now that quarterback pay is up to 50 million a year, isn't 35 kind of the new 25? So not that they're the same level of player, but Kirk's actually, everybody's crushing him because he got 40 million new dollars guaranteed on his It's like, but he gave them room to move. He let them give the contract he wanted, and he's only averaging 35 a year. You as a Cowboys fan will understand this. They're paying him 55 million within the next 12 months, but it doesn't matter cash-wise because of the way it's spread out over the cap. You're watching it with Dak. I think Dak's salary this year is 20 million, even though he averages 40.
Yeah, like that's the thing. Dak becomes good value. Dak like kind of becomes good value because people are going to go past him in terms of getting paid. It's just the way the QB market's set up. The fact that Kirk Cousins doesn't look at Dak Prescott and says, well, I'm worth at least as much as him, is like fair enough. Like you look at that and you think, right, okay, yeah, you've taken a pay cut there, like good work, Kirk Cousins, like fair play, well done Vikings, move on. Because he could have said, nah, I deserve Dak Prescott money. Like that's how much I deserve. In terms of cap, like he probably doesn't deserve it guaranteed because Dak's the quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys, and that's the most. And like the situation that Dak was in is a bit different to the situation that Kirk was in, and those kind of things. But he could definitely say, in terms of cap hit, I'm worth $40 million.
Yeah, and I'm not going to beat a dead horse. One last thing on it. I just say that it shows me a few things. One, Kirk wants to cover his own ass when it comes to free agency if the Vikings don't extend him in 2 years, which is fair play, right? Yep. With the no trade and the guaranteed money. Two, it proves to me that he wants to be in Minnesota, but he still wants to make decent money, which you can't blame a guy, right? So, like, I'm okay with the way I feel. Like, I bet the Vikings walked away feeling good about it. Kirk walked away feeling good about it. I know a lot of Vikings fans didn't, but everybody wanted Deshaun Watson. If you really go look, their last 4 years playing, they're pretty close in stats. And I'm not saying they're the same player. Deshaun has a lot more athletic ability and different things. He's a lot younger. But did you want to sell the farm for Deshaun Watson and bring all the baggage that comes with it? You know what I mean? With everything. Yeah. I know he did not get charged criminally, but he's still got all those civil suits.
Mm-hmm. And also to go with that, like how far away are the Vikings from a Super Bowl? Like I think if the head office went to them and said, look, if we get this player, if you take 10 million less, we get this player, we're going to win a Super Bowl, then I can imagine Kirk Cousins going, yeah, okay. Like if it gets me, but how much does Kirk Cousins getting paid 30 million to 35 million change the Vikings' chances of winning the Super Bowl? And It's not a lot. Like, they would be in a far worse situation if he'd left because they refused to offer him more than 30. So I think 35 is a fair evaluation.
Well, yeah, and you're a good lead-in because we'll get off the quarterback. But with a lot of teams, there's a lot of free agencies coming up. I think, personally, we can get into this later. I think there's 3 moves the Vikings have to make. Well, 4 if you count that you have to keep Patrick Peterson and get another corner. I counted that as 1. Secondary, offensive line you need to beef up on, right? And you can always use you got to figure out what you're going to do if Anthony Barr leaves at linebacker. But so to move on, though, TB12's on retiring. At first, I thought it might have been I'm on retiring because you found a trade partner for me and I wanted out because you heard the shit between he got wore thin with Bruce Arians. My guess is they sat down, they figured it out, and here we go. Tom's coming back for a 23rd season.
Can't get rid of him. I think he looked at the NFC and went, yeah. I think he looked at the NFC and went, this could be my easiest run to a Super Bowl yet. But I think he just went, I'm legit. I'm walking in at 45 years old, top 3 quarterbacks in my entire conference. No argument. The argument only exists is he the top 1 quarterback in terms of play right now in his conference? And the MVP conversation was between him and Rodgers this year, and Rodgers is the only guy that can really get close to him. I've put Stafford in there. Kyler Murray, that all seems very, very uncertain. Dallas Cowboys, constant underachievers. It's a nice conference to kind of walk into at the minute. And also, very importantly, the NFC South haven't got themselves this opportunity saying, oh, Tom Brady's gone to get their shit sorted out. They've kind of just doubled down on the shit sandwich that is the NFC South, like, at the minute. So I think he sat at home and thought, this fucking retirement shit's a bit boring, but it's probably the right thing to do. Like, I want to be with my kids. And then Russell Wilson leaves and he goes, oh, okay, cool. Nobody's sorting themselves out in the NFC. Oh, all right, cool. And then an interesting take, and this is from the British side of the Atlantic, and nobody's talked about this in the States. Tom Brady was at the Manchester United game this weekend. So he's in the UK. He was at the Manchester United game this weekend. And Cristiano Ronaldo, at the age of 36, that's really old for a soccer player, 36. At the age of 36, scores a hat-trick. And he's getting called the GOAT. And he gets a picture taken with him at halftime, at full-time. And Cristiano Ronaldo saying this guy's the GOAT. And Tom Brady saying this guy's the GOAT. And I think he kind of looked at that. And the Man United fans chanting his name and thought, yeah, let's fucking go.
Yeah, the only place I saw it was this morning on Pat McAfee. He's the only one who talked about it. For me, when it comes to Tom Brady, I think he's going to have another quarterback in his division before it's over, because I do think Deshaun Watson ends up with either the Saints or the Panthers. We'll get to that in a second because he's visiting both of them, which means he would probably waive his no trade clause for either one. But I just think that Brady can't, like, he's such a competitor. Like, once you give up football, what else do you do? He was sitting at home. He was like, man, I got a year or 2 left in me. He was probably talking to Gronk on the phone because I feel like Gronk's going to come back for one more than if Tom's coming back. You got Godwin staying. There's a lot of them pieces are going to still be there together. I just think you're right. Brady's like, let's go give it one more shot because we have a real shot at making the Super Bowl. And if you put Tom Brady in the Super Bowl, who's got more experience?
Yeah, I also think the Buccaneers are not. It was a smart time for him to kind of come back because the Bucs are in a bit of trouble in terms of their free agents and who can they bring back. And I think having Tom Brady there might mean they can keep a lot more than they were going to keep otherwise. Like Ndamukong Suh, JPP, Chris Godwin, Roland Jones, Leonard Fournette, Jensen's just signed a new contract as of today, hasn't he? With Tom Brady coming back, and you've got to think that those guys maybe go, "Oh, Tom's back, right? Okay, let's give this another shot. Then let's try this shit out." And I think it is a big deal with it is the fact of the NFC is weak in terms of quarterback play at the minute. And I think he looks at that and just goes, yeah, I'm good. And I also think he kind of lived through, what's been on, 40 days. So he sat for 40 days, he's had time with his kids, and he's realised that at the age that his kids are, they're not that interested in their dad. And Giselle's a busy supermodel and stuff like that. So I think he's just kind of gone, I'm not as needed around here as I thought I was. And my businesses are running themselves. So I just want to go out and play some football again. I genuinely think that could be it. He's just realised that retirement's kind of dull because nobody's that interested. Everybody else has their own shit going on. If Giselle retired as well, I imagine it'd be a different story.
Well, Maddie, there's a lot of movement going on in Green Bay right now. They let Desarius Smith go. They at an impasse with Adams. I don't think that's nothing except Adams like telling him, you give me a long-term contract or I'm unhappy, because he says, I won't play on the franchise tag. Bullshit. That's $20 million a year. You ain't missing a fucking game. You might sit out preseason and training camp, but bullshit, you're not playing on $20 million for a year. But he just wants the long-term contract now that Rodgers is signed up. And I'm sure that being friends, he sat with Rodgers and said, how many more years you think you're going to play? And Rodgers probably told him, and he'll base his contract somewhere around what Rodgers in his head right now thinks he's going to play. But there's also your boy Amari Cooper on the move. Landry's a free agent now. Gallup just got signed. There's some wide receiver news popping off.
Yeah, in a really deep wide receiver class, as always, coming out of college at the minute. So it'll be interesting with who takes these big guys and who drafts wide receivers in the draft. It's going to be interesting for which way people go. I'm surprised with the Jarvis Landry news and that the Browns haven't tied him up, because Amari Cooper with Jarvis Landry, that's a devastating combo. But I mean, taking on Amari Cooper's contract might mean that they couldn't re-sign Jarvis Landry.
Well,
and Amari Cooper is better than Jarvis
Landry. They already had him signed. They cut him, so they must not be able to afford him or something, because I was shocked. Or they just have big faith in Higgins and Peoples-Jones. Pope.
Yeah. I'm not sure I'm giving up Jarvis Landry in
I agree.
that spot. In that spot, to be perfectly honest, in the spot that they're with, where Baker Mayfield needs weapons to win, I think people can decide whether they like Baker Mayfield or not. But I think it's obvious that he does need weapons to win. He's not going to win games by himself. Just like Dak needs weapons to win. Just like Kirk needs weapons to win. Like, they're not going to win by themselves. It's a shame that Amari Cooper isn't at the Cowboys. It seems like it was a bit of locker room stuff, because a 5th and a 6th for Amari Cooper is not a fair trade at all. It seems like they just wanted him out of Dallas.
You guys gave up a 6th also. You guys gave up a 6th also.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it doesn't seem like a very smart move in terms of the draft picks, but I guess if he's going to destroy the locker room and those kind of things, then just get rid of him, whatever. And we probably couldn't really afford him anyway. It now means that we can afford somebody else, like a Randy Gregory or a DeMarcus Lawrence, like those kind of guys, or Michael Gallup. Michael Gallup getting re-signed is a big deal. But the wide receiver free agency, if you need a wide receiver, now's the time. And Green Bay are clearing house. They've got to surely draft another wide receiver this year.
Well, you can't sign Landry right now if you're the Packers, because how do you give him big money and not extend Adams? You're just going to piss Adams off. So until you get Adams' contract, you're kind of hamstrung on bringing in another receiver, and you got guys walking out the door in Green Bay.
I mean,
wide
you just
receiver.
do both.
And I don't know. I think Amari Cooper, yes, it was the money. I think it has a lot to do with that fight between him and Dak in the locker room. And if him and Dak aren't getting along after that playoff game, then you can't keep him, because you already committed to Dak, and quarterback is always more important. You know what I mean? If you don't have a quarterback, there's no way you're a wide receiver away from winning, So, but I'll tell you, the rest of the world, does not matter what we think on Baker Mayfield. The fact that the Browns called the Vikings and asked to trade Kirk Cousins for Baker Mayfield tells you exactly what the Browns think of Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, definitely. And I think they just, if I'm the Browns, I'm going in for every single quarterback that's around because they're still ready to win. Still ready to win. With everything that's going on. They could probably do with another wide. Oh no, they just got Amari Cooper. Damn.
I still think they could pick up another one.
Yeah, they could pick up another one. If they're not re-signing Jarvis Landry, then I imagine they're going to go to the draft for a wide receiver. Who else needs wide receiver? Jacksonville could do with somebody to go alongside Trevor Lawrence, an experienced wide receiver. That'd be a good spot for them. I imagine if the Bengals had another wide receiver, that's the kind of crazy shit that they would do. Just to add another one. Would you be surprised to see him in? Would you be surprised to see Jarvis Landry in Tampa Bay?
Not if they can free up the money, and we know how the cap works. You can usually, and if you're gonna, I'd sell out with Tom Brady coming back for one more year, so I could definitely see him there. I think that if you're Landry, you gotta go look for the right quarterback, right? You can't just because at his stage in his career, he's a dog. I don't think he's just gonna go for the money. So you're looking for the right landing spot. So if you want to go down by Tom, or you want to go play with I don't know if they'd be in the market for him, but Justin Herbert,
I was just going to say
Mahomes, you want to go play with those guys or wherever Watson lands. I get it because you, as a receiver, you're only as good as your quarterback. How much do you pay for a guy who's older now, though, and seems to get hurt more often?
I don't know. It depends. I think that kind of depends where you're at. And if I'm Jarvis Landry, I'm looking for the championship now. Jarvis Landry's made enough money. Jarvis Landry can go into any career he wants to after this. He's an absolutely electric human. He'd be great in the media. He could have his own, absolutely awesome podcast that he's going to get paid a lot of money for. Clothing lines, all of that kind of shit. Jarvis Landry could make a shit ton of money, after his playing career. Just go looking for the championship if you're Jarvis Landry. Just go find it. I like the Chargers. I think the Chargers would be a great move. And if I'm the Chargers, I'm saying to them, look, you'd be our number one receiver. We can only pay you $10 million. Come on. Let's do this because you're the kind of guy we need to beat their absolutely insane division, And it's exciting.
Well, my question for you is then on the next topic is the quarterback, Jimmy G. I think Marcus Mariota is going to end up with the Colts. So where does that land Jimmy G? Or do you think he ends up with the Colts? And I heard they got offered a number 2 pick for him. But we don't know which team offered it.
A number 2 pick seems a lot for Jimmy G. Not because of his talent, but just with the fact, is he going to make the start of the season? Is Jimmy G going to make the start of the season, and how much can we trust that he's going to make the season?
I don't know. Everybody keeps saying this pick is too high or that pick is too high. I think people put too much stock in draft picks sometimes, and I think the Rams proved if you can win. Is it too high? Mm-hmm. I mean, they brought in Von Miller for one season. It looks like maybe they re-signed him, but one season, 3rd round pick.
Yeah, the thing is though, there's teams where a number 2 pick doesn't do shit for their team, really. But there's teams like the Cowboys or the Vikings or, I don't know, Denver, where they can pick up Denver can pick up a solid wide receiver to go with Russell Wilson. The Cowboys and the Vikings, you get but if some amazing cornerbacks.
If you need a quarterback, is it too really that high? And that's what they gave up to get him.
Yeah, exactly. So the teams that are looking at Jimmy G, you've got a feeling, aren't the teams that are only a 2nd round pick away from winning the Super Bowl. You've got a feeling they're the teams that need. It's got to be the Giants that made the call.
When it's all said and done, even if it's next year's, I think a team ends up giving away a 1st for Jimmy G.
Wow.
They might not give up one this year because if you're the Giants, you have 2 top 10 picks. So you refuse. But you go, hey, what if I give you 2023's 1st round pick? And if I'm the 49ers, I'm probably I'll take it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. 100%. I just think the 49ers don't have the leverage to ask about those kind of picks because he's not that They've made it pretty clear that he's
Well,
not playing there next season.
right, but if there's already a team offering it too, it just takes one other
Yeah.
team to want him more. Do you know what I mean? And that's why I think, just like we're going to watch guys this year in the draft as quarterbacks get drafted way higher than they should, people are going to get, somebody's going to give up 3 first-round picks plus what, 2 players for Deshaun Watson at some point. Like what you can get for a quarterback. Just look what Russell Wilson's not the youngest guy in the world. Look what they just pulled in for him. Like it's that quarterback, Matt Stafford, 2 first-round picks, right? And your starting quarterback, which that had something to do with the money, but that people will pay for the quarterback because you can't win without him.
Yeah, I mean the Carson Wentz trade is like.
You're right. Yeah.
Yeah, kind of shows that. But yeah, Jimmy G. I mean, I like Jimmy G. I think he's a good quarterback. He has a bad rep for, like, I don't understand why people dislike him. The only reason I can think to question Jimmy G is limited ceiling and injury prone. That's the scout report on Jimmy G at this moment in time, realistically, isn't it? And the fact his injury might mean that he misses the start of the season means I'm not going to give up a lot to get him, because I feel like I'd be able to get him next year. But Mike Florio said something really interesting about the whole Carson Wentz trade as well, which applies to this. You never, if you're buying something within your budget and you're trying to get like a couple of hundred, like if you're buying a car or a house and it's within your budget and you're trying to get a couple of hundred if it's a car, a couple of grand if it's a house, you're trying to get that shit knocked off. That's not going to make a massive difference to you in the grand scheme of things. What will make a massive difference to you is if you miss out on your dream car or house because you were taking too long trying to knock a couple of $100 off. So just go for that shit. Like if you have the budget to give up a 2nd round pick for Jimmy Garoppolo, then give up the 2nd round pick for Jimmy Garoppolo. I personally think it's a little bit too high considering he can't throw at the minute because of his arm. But I get why other teams would kind of go for it, like the Saints, that kind of a team as well.
Yeah, and another thing that just crossed my mind, if you're the 49ers and you want to, it'd be rough in the locker room. Hold them until somebody gets injured and then see what you get right before the trade deadline, because a team in the playoff run might give you more than you expect. But I expect if they get an offer of a first or a second and a third, or they're taking it. You know what I mean? Because they gave up so much to get Trey Lance. And we've talked about it before. He needs to play more than most because of COVID and only having 1 year in college and that kind of thing. So they need to get him on the field.
Yeah, I'm surprised they didn't say yes to the second, to be perfectly honest. But yeah.
They might have more than one team involved too, right? And a lot of people are trying to get it compliant with the cap. So even if it's a team that knows they can get under, maybe they're just like, hey, I'll give you the second, but you got to wait till we make these moves and that kind of stuff. And you technically can't even make a trade till Wednesday. All these trades are theoretical till Wednesday.
Oh my God, Russell Wilson isn't going to the Denver Broncos. Holy shit.
Wouldn't that be some shit? Yeah.
That'd be the worst.
So what do the Seahawks do?
Play with Drew Lock this year, accept that they're going to be shit, and build their team up with a shit ton of draft picks. That's got to be it. That's their only, the only way that they could have done anything else is getting this Deshaun Watson trade idea. That's the only other thing, because that Seahawks team is not good. If you're not winning with Russell Wilson, then you're not good. And the way to build it up, they're not good and don't have a huge lot of cap room from what I can remember. I mean, with Russell Wilson off the books, I imagine that's freed up a shit ton of cap room now.
They just did Bobby Wagner dirty too.
Yeah. They're clearing house. They're just going to they're going to clear house. They're going to play with Drew Lock. They're going to get him killed because their offensive line's garbage. And then they're going to just build with draft picks.
Yeah, and they have a lot of stockpile with another 2 first-round picks next year too. So if there's a quarterback they want, they have enough ammunition to move around in next year's draft. I don't mind that they walked away from Bobby Wagner. I have a problem with that they never called Bobby Wagner and told him they were walking away from him.
That's the kind of shit that gets you a curse like Detroit have because of Megatron.
If you're a free agent, do you want to go play for a team that couldn't even pick up the fucking phone?
No.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I wonder how much people really put stock into that. I imagine I would think about it if I'm a top player, on the free agent market and I'm able to take my pick, then that plays into my mind. If Seattle is my only other destination, then I'm going to Seattle. Like, you know, that's my. But if you're JPP on the free agent market and Seattle are in for you, I don't know, Dallas are in for you, the Vikings are there, Tennessee's in for you, those kind of teams, then you think, yeah, I'm probably not going to go to Seattle because they did that to their guy, right. You know? But actually, JPP to Tennessee is not a bad shot. That might be interesting. But I just think Seattle just need to rebuild. I just sort their shit out and then find a quarterback. The quarterback class for the year after this isn't actually terrible. Like Bryce Young's in it. He's pretty special. So,
and we'll see more as the next college football year goes on. And these guys, you know what I mean? We see them in more of a spotlighting role. We'll get more of an idea of how they play too. Yeah. I'm sure there's going to be a lot more to come after Wednesday. We don't know this for a fact, but I'm sure you'll hear from us again sometime this week. But make sure you guys tune in this Wednesday to MMA Underground Live because we are doing SEMO versus schizophrenia. We are raising money for mental health awareness. We've partnered with NAMI from Seattle. So make sure you tune in and check that out. Anything else to say to these guys before we get out of here, Maddie?
Yeah, NAMI from Seattle. I'm sorry that your team's going to be garbage this
year. All right. Well, there you have it for Maddie. One world, one love. Deuces.
Cheerio.